All right, today we are going deep. We're going to unmask those hidden forces that are silently shaping your thoughts, your emotions, and your decisions every single day.
Have you ever looked at someone super smart, maybe even yourself, and just thought, why on earth did they do that? It seems completely irrational, right? So, what's really going on there? Or how about this one? You know, when you promise yourself, okay, never again, I am not going to make that same mistake. And then, bam, a week later, you find yourself right back in that same old trap. How does that happen?
And really, all of this boils down to one massive question, maybe the most important one. Are you really the one driving? Or is there something else, some hidden co-pilot at the controls, steering you in directions you never even chose?
Look, stick with me here, because by the end of this, I promise you, you are going to see people differently. And more importantly, you're going to see yourself differently. We're about to pull back the curtain on your mind's secret operating system, and once you see it, you can never, ever unsee it. Okay, so what are these secret controls, right? Well, the key to understanding literally all human behavior, everything from why you choose a certain brand of coffee to why people do the most bizarre things, it all starts with one single kind of shocking number. Yeah, 90%. That's not a typo. Psychologists figure that over 90% of everything you do every day, what you say, how you feel, the choices you make, it's not driven by your conscious mind. It's your subconscious calling the shots. Think about it. You don't decide to feel insecure. You don't choose to be jealous. It just happens, right? And this is the absolute core of it all. Most of your behavior is just the result of programming you didn't choose. You didn't write the code. You just inherited it, absorbed it, learned it, all without ever giving your permission. So, where does all this programming come from? Well, it's a mix of some really powerful forces. You've got your basic biology, your past experiences, how you were raised, culture, the whole shebang. So let's start at the very beginning, with the hardware we're all running on. Right, the ancient survival brain. To really get a handle on our thoughts, we gotta understand the machine that's making them. And here's the thing, our brain is an ancient piece of equipment. Seriously, it's old. This is so important to get. Your brain did not evolve to make you happy. It evolved for one reason and one reason only, survival. For thousands and thousands of years, its only job was to keep you from getting eaten. So its prime directive became super simple. Anything unfamiliar equals a potential threat. And that old programming, it's why we still fear change, why we resist new things, why we blow tiny problems way out of proportion. So a simple way to picture this is that you've basically got three brains stacked on top of each other. At the bottom, you have the ancient reptilian brain. That's pure survival instincts, fight, flight, or freeze. In the middle, you've got the limbic system, the home of your emotions. And then right at the front, the newest, shiniest part, the prefrontal cortex. That's where all your logic lives. But here's the catch. The oldest parts are the strongest. And that brings us to the system's biggest glitch. The moment stress hits, the moment you feel threatened or under pressure, that logical brain of yours is the very first thing to just shut down. It goes offline. And what takes over? The emotional and survival brains. That is why incredibly smart people can get angry and say the dumbest things or make terrible decisions in the heat of the moment. It's not a choice, it's a biological reaction. Okay, so if the brain is the hardware, what about the software? Let's dive into the software it's running, that huge, invisible world of your subconscious mind. Think of your subconscious mind as this massive hard drive, and it records everything. Every single experience, every belief you've ever formed, every emotional memory, it's all saved in there. It literally misses nothing. And once a file is saved, it just runs in the background, like a program, creating a pattern. And a huge chunk of this programming gets installed in childhood. Before you're about 7 years old, your brain is basically a sponge. You're just absorbing beliefs from everyone and everything around you with zero filter. So these ideas, money is evil, I'm not good enough, you can't trust people, they don't just get heard, they get hardwired into your operating system, and they can silently steer your confidence, your relationships, even your career for your entire life. And Sigmund Freud absolutely nailed it with this quote. We go through life thinking things are just fate. Oh, I'm just unlucky in love, or I'm just fated to struggle with money. But so often it is not fate. It's just a hidden program from your past, running on a loop and secretly directing your entire life today. All right, now let's talk about the fun part, the glitches in the system.
See, your brain is kind of lazy. To save energy, it uses all these little mental shortcuts. We call them cognitive biases. The problem is, these shortcuts often lead us way, way off the path of reality.
And our minds are just riddled with these things. Let's just touch on 4 really powerful ones. First, you've got confirmation bias. This is the one that keeps you in your own little echo chamber, where you only see evidence that proves you're right. Then there's status quo bias. This is what keeps us stuck, right? Your brain would rather deal with a pain it knows than risk an unknown solution. Classic negativity bias. This is why one nasty comment online can totally ruin your day, even if you got 10 amazing compliments. And finally, projection. This is a tricky one. It's when you judge other people for the very things you don't like about yourself. See, these aren't just little personality quirks. They're powerful defense mechanisms that are constantly bending your perception of reality.
And when it comes to making decisions, if you remember nothing else, remember this. We love to think we're these rational, logical beings. The reality? Emotions decide. Logic just shows up later to justify the decision that was already made. The psychologist Daniel Kahneman broke this down perfectly. He said we have 2 systems for thinking. System 1 is your gut. It's fast, automatic, emotional, and it's always on. System 2 is your logical brain. It's slow, deliberate, and frankly, it's lazy. It takes a lot of effort to use. So, which system do you think is running the show 90% of the time? Yeah, it's the fast, automatic, emotional one. So, this is the big question, isn't it? If we're this programmed, if our minds are full of these glitches, and we're basically run by our emotions, how in the world do we ever take back control? Well, the good news is, the first step is actually way simpler than you might think. Here it is. This is where all change begins. You have to learn to observe your thoughts instead of just automatically obeying them. The second you can catch a thought, I feel angry or I'm not good enough, and just look at it without immediately reacting, you create a tiny bit of space. And right there in that little gap, that's where all your power is. You're not the thought. You're the one noticing the thought. And what do you do in that space? You pause. That's it. You just pause. Maybe it's a 1-second pause before you snap back at someone. A 5-minute pause before you hit send on that angry email. A whole day before you make a huge life decision. That tiny act of pausing is like a system interrupt. It short-circuits the old automatic programming, and it gives your slow, logical brain just enough time to wake up and get back online. Because ultimately, that's what this is all about. What if you could actually control your behavior? What if you could, by extension, control your life? Your behavior isn't random. It's a system. It has rules. And any system, once you understand it, can be managed. It can even be reprogrammed. Seeing the code, being aware, that's the first giant step toward freedom. So really, the only question left is, are you ready to begin?